Once again, I want to present research work undertaken by Elena and myself from the Atlas research group with Agnes, which we did in a 6 months research visit to the Open University in the UK on an app we developed, the audio news trainer for improving listening comprehension. I've got the presentation tomorrow, which I go into more detail. So today I really want to just briefly focus on the differences of the results we found between the two different versions. We've got an individual learning version and a collaborative learning version. So the commonalities, if you like, between the two versions is the idea is that the app is actually, what it does is mashes up audio from different sources. So we can pick them up from, once it's online, it can be mashed up. And it's presented in a common interface. And the idea is that the students can actually listen to it from any mobile device because the app's cross-platform. And then depending on the different versions of the app, with the individual learning versions, there's questions, closed questions, which enables them to reflect and think about what they've actually learned. And with the collaborative version, we set up an app Facebook page, and I'll talk about it now, but basically from the app you can actually write a summary about what you think you've understood from what you've learned, which is posted from the page, and then there's follow-on activities actually on the page. And we decided from an early stage that we were going to use the app with students on the English University entrance course at UNED, and that's a very heterogeneous group. They've probably got levels which go from A2 to B2, so it wasn't so easy to concentrate on improvements in actual listening comprehension. So we structured the research in terms of a series of questions which focused on their motivation, improvements in motivation, changes in learning habits, and also the role of metacognition, because it's been heavily documented in the literature, the importance of metacognition in listening comprehension. Okay, so in this particular experiment, we decided to pick up our news feeds from, classify them in 3 levels, using a traffic light system, green, yellow and red, using the BBC English, what I call authentic English, not that I'm biased, you understand. Then you've got the yellow American English, and then finally you've got the red Australian English. And basically the list of titles updates on a daily basis, and they can click on them, go and listen to them, they can repeat the listing anytime they want to, and answer a series of questions. This is the Facebook version, which gives them the opportunity to summarise it online. All the access via the app goes to a proxy server, so we log absolutely all the data that comes from it. And also on the Facebook page, the analytical tools are excellent, so you can do some very good analysis there and export it all as XML. So this is a typical example. Unfortunately, the Facebook page is now closed because we're processing the data. But if we get more funding, then we'll open it back up and then also distribute the app freely for you to play with. So the idea is from the app to put a basic summary, and then subsequently go to Facebook, and then you've got the option of just using like to show that in some respect you're in agreement with what a peer has actually understood from it. And then you can go on to comment on that if there's slight differences, and if the differences are slightly larger, then you can actually go off and use other social media to find sources to if you like, argue about what you think you've understood and why there's actually differences. So almost 3 months we did the experiment while we were overusing students from the UNED, and it's basically 90 students which we divided into 2 groups of 45, and you can basically see a very brief summary of the data here, that 9 students took part of the 45 who registered in the individual learning group at 20%, which is not that high, and they listened to a total of 366 news recordings of 3 to 5 minutes length of duration. In the social learning group, that amount went up to 73%, and they listened to considerably more audio recordings, 654, and followed on with 429 posts on the Facebook page with more likes and actually comments on the page. Both groups actually, while they were using the app, expressed interest in carrying on using it once the experimental time finished, and we let them do it. We saw no reason in preventing their access to this information. So if we just focus on the comparison between the two, one of the things we wanted to do is, because there's a massive body of literature about the use of online audio materials for training listening comprehension, but if you like, the problem is getting them to carry on doing it in a medium term, because life happens, you lose interest, you've got other goals, and it's difficult to keep on trying. So we're actually trying to look to see if a priori news in itself would be a motivating source of audio input. And there's a certain amount of evidence in the results that we've got that is the case. But there were still other factors. When we actually went into the post questionnaires, perhaps I'll talk about this tomorrow, then there were other factors that came along, and absolutely everybody said, we loved it, we loved using it, but, and it's the but, which is the $50,000 question, which is the source of future research, obviously. And we actually found evidence of subtle differences in the motivation and the habits and the way the metacognitive strategies were actually developed. But I think it's very safe to say that the social interaction really was quite crucial, and it really did facilitate motivation. Okay, let's criticise this a bit. Interestingly, or perhaps not so, given the fact that it was Facebook, was that the interactions were quite superficial. It's probably just more of a reflection of the way we work with Facebook, and we're going to try other social networks to see if that is in fact different. We went to a lot of trouble at the beginning to maintain the anonymity of our students, obviously. But because of their connection to Facebook, we found that in no time at all they stopped using their student accounts and were just coming straight across from their own personal accounts. And they didn't seem to be in the slightest bit concerned about this. In fact, they were quite happy about it. And one of the things which really did surprise us was the lack of emotional implication, because I mean, if you remember back to the end of last year, beginning of this year, we had some really serious stuff going on in the news, Ebola and all sorts of wars and different things that are going on. But the comments from the students were really quite cold. There was no emotional identification, which is something we actually wonder about. And obviously we believe that from previous experience, emotional identification is good for facilitating learning, so therefore, why aren't they emotionally connecting with it? And we think that perhaps the task was a little dry, that the way we structured it, what have you understood about what you've listened to? Maybe that's causing them to think, oh, I'm practicing my English, and not actually relaxing and actually getting in there and treating it as something which we'll actually talk about in the future. So, the human factor was really, really important here. I mean, we designed the experiment not to count on the tutors because, since it's a blended learning system, we've got a network of tutors that could, and these tutors were not actually included in the experiment, and they wanted to take part. We had several emails saying, please, please, I want to take part, and we had to say no. And also, we've observed certain figures, the way certain students behave, which we've identified in other research, especially with language MOOCs. The idea of what we call this e-leading student. It's a student that becomes a self-appointed here, and all the rest of them are. Thank you.